confrontation with their parents?
Twins Adam and Alexis Conroy were ordinary teenagers in terms of height, weight, and looks, although, according to some, Alexis was beautiful and did not look ordinary. However, no one considered them ordinary in many other ways. Even as a 15-year-old sophomore, Alexis was the best athlete in her school. She was a two-sport conference medalist, an All-American in field hockey, and would very likely have received a field hockey scholarship to the Division I university of her choice. She was also a B-plus student. Adam, a 15-year-old junior in high school, who had skipped one class and dropped the other two, had ordinary athleticism and only played intramural sports to keep in shape, not being good enough or interested enough to play in interscholastic competition. However, even though Adam's IQ was not in the genius range, everyone he interacted with thought he was. That opinion was reinforced when he placed 6th in the National Regeneron Science Talent Search Competition, which included a tax-free cash prize of $80,000. Alexis and Adam had two other distinguishing traits. They were genuinely kind and humble people who got along well with virtually all of their classmates, teachers, and school administrators, and despite their diverse interests and skills, they were each other's best friends. You'd think Alexis and Adam had the perfect life. Perhaps it was, if it weren't for two things: their parents. Adam and Alexis's mother, Julia Conroy, is a very sensual woman. Although many believed that 15-year-old Alexis, growing up, could someday have a body as seductive as Julia's unless she had skillful facial plastic surgery, Alexis would never possess the same facial beauty as Julia, who herself utilized the services of a top-notch plastic surgeon. In some ways, Julia was a decent mother, although her children's successes did not warm her heart the way most mothers would. However, she had a very significant flaw. She was a serial cheater, and not a very sophisticated one at that. Adam and Alexis's father, Orrin Conroy, is somewhat of a powerful man. He manages about 60 employees of a Fortune 1000 company and was a famous college soccer player. However, when it comes to his wife Julia, he becomes cuckolded. Although there has never been any indication that he himself is cheating, his inability to rein in his wife has perplexed many, especially Adam and Alexis. There were many situations in their lives where Alexis and Adam were embarrassed by their parents' behavior. This went far beyond the usual problems teens have with their parents, which are usually part of growing up. There were many instances where one or both teens were humiliated by what they heard from other adults about their parents, especially about how their mother was partying. Sometimes the conversations were interrupted when they were noticed. Other times it was impossible not to overhear what was being said both in public places, stores and malls, and semi-private places. Even teachers gossiped in their rooms after class. The twins tried to talk to their mother and father while remaining polite and sensitive. As a result, they only brushed them off, scolded them, or yelled at them. The first cataclysmic event, which occurred when Alexis was a 14-year-old freshman, began to change their attitudes. Alexis's soccer practice was canceled due to bad weather conditions, and she drove home with a teammate who was a 17-year-old junior and lived nearby. She heard strange noises coming from the upper floors of the house, and when she went to the open door of the master bedroom, she saw Julia standing naked beside the bed and Alexis's basketball coach, Warren Thompson, having sex with her. She screamed. Both Julia and Warren swore at her. She quickly got out of there and, despite the weather conditions, hid outside until it was time for Adam to come home from his volunteer class. Alexis was close enough to the house to hear the exchange between Julia and Warren as Warren left, both promising each other to talk to Alexis and threatening her to keep quiet. An upset Alexis immediately told Adam everything. After the first few tears, he proposed a final plan. "Listen, little sister. We're not going to let Mom talk to you alone tonight. I'm going to insist that anything she wants to say to you take place in my presence. If she doesn't like that, well, too bad. Then the day after tomorrow, Saturday, you will call your coach and demand that he meet you at the concession stand at the high school soccer stadium. That's what we'll do then." Alexis's tears turned into a smile. That evening, Julia was annoyed when Alexis refused to talk to her privately about anything. "Anything you want to say to me, you can say in Adam's presence or I don't want to hear it," she replied adamantly to Julia's entreaties, while Adam stood nearby and scowled. After the fifth failed attempt, an irritated Julia lashed out at them both. "You don't know what you saw, Alexis, and if you two brats don't keep your mouths shut, you're both in for one hell of a payback," and then walked away. Considering how easily Alexis had gotten Warren to agree to see her, he must have talked to Julia and worked out a plan with her. However, Warren and Julia severely underestimated Adam. As part of his volunteer work, Adam tutored members of the soccer team in math and science. The biggest and meanest guy on the team was Dante Waters, a 20-year-old senior defensive back, 6 feet 4 inches tall, 285 pounds. In other words, he was someone you shouldn't mess with if you had a choice. Because Adam had tutored him on and off for 2 years, and because he credited Adam with his ability to pass algebra and physics to qualify for a college soccer scholarship despite his rough-even antisocial attitude toward those around him, Dante was willing to do anything for Adam. As dusk thickened and no one was around on a Saturday, Alexis, Adam, and Dante saw Warren walk behind the concession stand at the high school soccer stadium. Alexis walked toward him, holding the audio recorder that Adam had set up for her in her jeans pocket, ready to record. Adam and Dante kept close to each other, but out of Warren's sight. As Alexis approached him, Warren, before he could even speak, said, "Alexis, I'm so glad you wanted to meet so I could explain to you that Thursday afternoon wasn't what you thought it would be." "You mean Coach Thompson when you had sex with my mom, Julia?" Alexis replied in as non-confrontational a voice as possible. "No, that's where you're wrong. I'm a certified massage therapist and she had back problems, so I just gave her a massage," he said. Really did. "And she had to be unclothed when you did that?" asked Alexis. I think you were wrong here too, Alexis. She was wearing a flesh-colored bikini. Everything was innocent." Even Thompson obviously didn't think anyone would believe that, as he began to sweat. "In other words, you think a first grader doesn't know the difference between a massage and sex?" Alexis snapped back, no longer pretending to be polite. "I'm telling you for the last time that's not what you saw," Thompson shouted. "You better think about the consequences if you tell anyone about what you think you saw. You'll never play AAU basketball again, that's for sure, and here's why. Because no one will believe you but me. Your mom and I will convince them that you're a delusional, vindictive girl," he growled. Alexis smiled. "Or they'll believe this one," she grinned, pulling the recorder out of her pocket and holding it out to him. "Give it to me, you little fool, or I'll punch your lights out," Thompson growled, moving closer to Alexis, but not fast enough. By the time he reached Alexis, Dante had already caught up with him and toppled him onto his back. As Thompson lay there, Adam walked over to him, making sure that Alexis had turned off the recorder. "Listen, asshole," Adam hissed as Dante stood beside him and loomed over the lying Thompson. "Here's what you're going to do. You're never going to see our mother again. You're going to resign from the AAU coaching staff. And you're going to apologize to my sister right now. If you don't do all that, a copy of this tape will be shown to your wife, the AAU board, and anyone else we see fit to show it to." With those words, Adam pulled the tape out of Alexis's tape recorder and pretended to hand it to Dante, although he actually gave Dante the blank tape and slipped the original into his shirt. "Dante will take care of it for us, won't you, Dante?" Adam smiled. "You bet I will, buddy. And anyone who tries to take her away from me will end up in the hospital guaranteed," he hummed. Thompson may have been a cheat and a liar, but he wasn't stupid enough to challenge a guy built like a tree trunk and outweighing him by 100 pounds. So without further ado, he said, "I'm sorry, Alexis. I really do apologize. Also, I'll do what you say, Adam, though it will take me a few weeks to gracefully leave the AAU. As long as it happens before sectionals and if the next coach doesn't have anything against Alexis, Adam replied. As all three left the still-lying Thompson, Dante couldn't help himself and spit on him, muttering, "Asshole!" Dante took Alexis and Adam to a local ice cream store, and Adam bought treats for the three of them. They laughed heartily, despite what a tramp Julia was. The fear in Warren Thompson's eyes was very helpful. Julia obviously had a talk with Warren, because the next week she acted like trash to Adam and Alexis. But cheater that she was, she decided that she'd calm down once she started dating someone else and wouldn't bring assholes into their house anymore. So things eventually got a little better. After the Warren Thompson situation, despite Alexis and Adam's attempts to talk to their parents, separately and together, things only got worse. With the exception of schoolwork or socializing with close friends, the twins endured constant humiliation from their cheating mother and their deadbeat father. They decided to do something about it soon after Adam won an $80,000 prize in Regeneron's Science Talent Contest. Adam had a particularly good relationship with his chemistry and physics teachers, Madeline Akers and Justin Homer, respectively. No wonder, since they were his mentors in the Regeneron project and accompanied him to the award ceremony when his parents couldn't make it. Mrs. Akers' husband Tom is a general practice attorney, and he agreed to meet with Adam and Alexis pro bono. "Mr. Akers, Alexis and I are interested in the possibility of emancipation from our parents. We would like you to discuss all the possibilities and procedures with us." Adam began the conversation politely. "Since Madeline tipped me off as to what you wanted to talk to me about, I have looked into the matter. Although I must say that I have only dealt with the emancipation of one child before, and that was a good 15 years ago," Tom Akers replied with a smile. "You know more than we do," Alexis laughed. "We just need the basics so we can start preparing if we don't succeed in getting our parents out of their current situation." "Okay," Tom smiled. "Here are the basics." Listing all the situations in which emancipation could happen without a court order, such as getting married, to which Alexis chuckled in response. "The only person we could marry right now is with my brother, and I doubt the state would allow twins to marry." He listed the most relevant factors and circumstances for court-ordered emancipation. In doing so, he cited various provisions of relevant statutes and discussed legal precedents. After an hour, give or take, Adam summarized the conversation. "So, Mr. Akers, it seems that three factors are most important in our particular situation. 1. Are we or can we become financially independent? 2. Are our parents in some way abusive, neglectful, or otherwise harmful to us? And 3. Do we have moral objections to our parents' living situation?" "I couldn't have phrased it better myself," Tom grinned. "Number 3 is already a sure bet in your favor. Number 2 is likely to be in your favor, especially if you get additional information they can't dispute. And the fact that you just won $80,000 and will give half of it to Alexis means you can probably support yourselves until you both go to college, and apparently on scholarships. Also, Adam is talking to his physics professor, Dr. Homer, about setting up a GoFundMe page to help our emancipation." Alexis smiled. "It'll be a precedent, that's for sure," Tom laughed. As the twins shook Tom Akers' hand in farewell, Adam said, "Mr. Akers, I want to do this myself and consult with you if I have any questions. Is that all right with you?" "Seems fine to me, but I'm willing to take things on a pro bono basis. However, I realize that you will need to do it yourself. I'll email you the initial form to file with the court once you've gathered all the other materials, and again, you'll need to wait until you're 16 so you don't get a waiver," Tom replied. "Keep in mind that you could get in trouble if you record, video or audio, conversations with your parents without their permission. Although if you do so as a minor, I can't imagine the court doing more than slapping you in the face." Adam and Alexis nodded their heads and thanked Tom again. Dr. Homer did their shopping for them. Adam and Alexis purchased several micro cameras and recorders and spent several hours testing them to make sure they knew how to use them. They then proceeded to confront their parents. During a crucial confrontation with their father, they got him to admit that he knew about his wife's infidelity but claimed, "She's a really nice person and loves me and you both. There's just something about her character that makes her weak." "Pa, there's nothing weak about Mom," Adam replied. Orrin slapped Adam across the face. "Don't say that. Your mother deserves your respect. She's no ordinary cheater." "No, she's definitely not an ordinary cheater," Alexis snapped back. "She's an exceptional cheater." Orrin raised his hand to slap Alexis too, but then Adam intervened. "Any slap should have gone to your cheating wife a long time ago," Adam said, as he and Alexis left the room to Orrin's angry tirade, informing them that they would both be punished. "And it's all on video and audio?" whispered Alexis as they made their way into Adam's room. "We'll see," he smiled, quickly plugging his computer into their portable electronics. "Great," Alexis smiled as she reviewed the results. The confrontation with Julia had been similar, although she had never admitted to cheating in so many words, and had also resulted in Adam getting a slap on the wrist. Dr. Homer had prepared all the necessary materials for the GoFundMe page and had already arranged for the twins to live in a one-bedroom apartment a mile from the school as soon as they were emancipated and could sign contracts on their own. Adam had already prepared all the preliminary court papers, but Alexis and Adam were still deciding whether to stall and file them when they were pushed to the extreme. Shortly before their 16th birthdays, Adam came into Alexis's room with a printed bank statement from the bank account into which the $80,000 prize had been deposited. "Look, sis, $15,000 was withdrawn from my account by Mom or Dad." "What?" exclaimed Alexis, snatching the document out of Adam's hands. With widened eyes, she asked, "What are we going to do?" "We're going to nail their coffin shut," Adam replied. "Put me through to one of the cells. I'm going to go see Mom right now." A few minutes later, Adam was in the kitchen where Julia was preparing dinner. Holding out a bank statement to her, he asked, "How did $15,000 get taken out of my account, Mom?" Pushing the document aside and looking a little flustered, she replied, "You know we had a lot of expenses related to your project. Materials, transportation, time off work. But the school provided most of the materials, and you didn't even attend the awards presentation. Mrs. Akers and Dr. Homer came with me," Adam replied respectfully. "Look, we had expenses. We're not made up of money. We've provided for you all your life and are entitled to more than the $15,000 I withdrew. End of discussion." Adam smiled to himself, feigning defeat. He and Alexis immediately set about amending the court documents. "Now, all we have to do is wait until we turn 16, Alexis giggled. The twins' 16th birthday fell on Friday. Their parents promised to throw a party on Saturday. By Friday afternoon, the emancipation papers had been filed, and Tom Akers arranged for the bailiff, a deputy sheriff, to arrive at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Not wanting to take any chances, Adam and Alexis had already moved all of their valuables, including computers, books, and most of their clothes, to the Akers residence, where they were asked to stay until the emancipation ruling was handed down. After breakfast on Saturday morning, Julia and Orrin said, "Well, sweet 16-year-olds, we have gifts for you." "We have a surprise for you first," Alexis smiled. "Can we wait with the presents until he arrives at 10 in the morning?" "Of course," replied Orrin. "But you should be the ones getting the surprises, not us." Alexis and Adam chatted and befriended their parents as best they could until they heard a knock on the door at 10:01 a.m. Less than a minute later, she returned with a large gentleman with an envelope in his hands. "Mom, Dad, this is Deputy Smithson. He has something for you." As Julia and Orrin sat dumbfounded, Deputy Smithson asked, "Are you Julia and Orrin Conroy?" Orrin answered, "Yes." Julia nodded her head and then asked, "What's the matter?" "I am hereby handing you the court documents filed by your children requesting emancipation. As you will see from the papers, you have 15 days to respond. I suggest you hire an attorney," Smithson replied. while Orrin said, "What?" and Julia said, "Why?" Smithson continued, "I have been instructed by the court to accompany your children to the Acres residence. I suggest you have your attorney contact your son Adam within 15 days. Julia, angry, and Orrin, dejected, continued to ask Adam and Alexis what was going on, but each of them responded at one point or another, "Read the papers, Mom and Dad, and have your attorney contact you, as Deputy Smithson said." Alexis and Adam were relieved when the deputy's private car took them to the Acres home, where they were warmly welcomed by Madeline. They didn't bother answering the phone when the caller ID indicated their parents. And they went with Madeline to the local Department of Motor Vehicles to get their driver's licenses. Within 10 days of receiving the notice, Julia and Orrin attempted to contact Adam and Alexis, including showing up at the Acres home once at night and once at the school during the day. Both times they were refused, to which they reacted angrily. In the meantime, they hired a lawyer, and she called Adam to set up an appointment. And so 12 days after receiving the notice, Julia, Orrin, and their attorney, Sally Jenkins, met with Adam, Alexis, and Tom Acres in her office conference room, although Tom made it clear that he was here as the children's counselor, not their attorney. Julia and Orrin cried and begged Adam and Alexis to withdraw their documents. To all entreaties, Alexis or Adam replied, "We've been embarrassed for too long by Mom's cheating and Dad's unwillingness to either make her stop or file for divorce. We will only take back our papers if you both sign an agreement that we can monitor Mom's actions electronically. And if she cheats again, you both sign an agreement to turn the house over to both of us, as well as return the $15,000 you stole from us." Only through the intervention of Sally Jenkins was it possible to keep the meeting from degenerating into shouting and swearing. After everyone had calmed down a bit, Sally said, "Your parents are prepared to fight this to the end. It can't be good for you, and it will ruin your finances so that you can't be financially independent, and it will ruin your family life." "Actually," Adam said, reaching into his newly purchased briefcase and pulling out some evidence from there, "with what we have, we'll probably prevail." Adam turned on a DVD of Alexis and his parents meeting with his parents, an audio recording of Warren Thompson, and showed copies of bank records of the $15,000 withdrawal from Adam's account and his confrontation with Julia. "You know that some of these electronic documents were obtained contrary to state law," began to say Jenkins, until Tom interrupted her. "So let them be prosecuted after they are emancipated. You know damn well they'll only get a slap on the wrist, and there's no way a family court judge wouldn't want to see and hear the evidence. Besides," Adam continued, "if it comes to a hearing, we'll call to testify all the guys we know for a fact were having an affair with Mom and see how popular and humiliated you both will be." At which point, he named 6 people before asking, "Do I need to say anything else?" After Adam finished, Jenkins said, "Please give us some time to discuss this, maybe half an hour." "Okay," Tom Acres said as he led Alexis and Adam out of the conference room. Alexis and Adam had mixed feelings as they sat in the lobby of the Jenkins law firm, talking with Tom. He struck up a conversation with Alexis about sports to ease the tension, and after half an hour, Jenkins asked them to return to the conference room. As much as it pains them, Julia and Orrin have agreed not to contest the emancipation, to return the $15,000, and to remove their names from Adam's account once the emancipation goes through, provided Adam and Alexis agree to have the court record sealed, Sally said. "Agreed," Alexis said, casting a quick glance at Adam. Alexis and Adam hugged their father warmly, and their mother put her arm around their shoulders, after which they left with Tom Acres. That evening, they celebrated with Dr. Homer and his family and Madeline Acres and her family. Given Julia and Orrin's capitulation, they didn't even attend the hearing, and Adam's quick evidence of financial independence, emotionally abusive situation with their parents, and their moral objections to their parents' living situation, there was no doubt they would prevail. By the time the twins were 16 years and 3 months old, they were emancipated, living in an apartment that Dr. Homer had given them, had $20,000 from their GoFundMe page and $80,000 from Adam's bank account, which he shared with Alexis, and the support of the entire community. Because he didn't want to leave Alexis in the lurch after graduation, Adam took a paid local engineering internship during Alexis's senior year of high school. Afterward, they both enrolled at the same university, Adam on a full academic scholarship and Alexis on a full field hockey scholarship, while living in the same off-campus apartment. Adam eventually earned a doctorate in chemical engineering and became the primary inventor of 6 breakthrough patented technologies. Alexis became the field hockey coach at her alma mater. They both married people who didn't cheat, and each had 2 wonderful children. Things didn't work out the best for Julia and Orrin. 3 years after emancipation, Julia was diagnosed with AIDS, and Orrin ended up divorcing her. A year after that, they disappeared from the children's lives. How do I know all this? I'm Tom Akers, and I consider Alexis and Adam my family. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you!